Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and get started, everyone. Welcome officially to the National One League South District 4. A little bit about what it is we're going to go over today. We're going to go over just a few important topics regarding what the N1 League is, what it'll look like for us here in El Paso and in the surrounding region. This video will be recorded, and we'll post it later on the website. So please, at the end, when we ask questions, make sure you ask all the questions. I think I'll be able to turn it on the chat, and then we'll answer some of those as well. That way, anyone who watches this afterwards, or if you want to refer to this before or again afterwards, you guys can see that as well. Now, this is just a general overview. I wanted to go ahead and give everyone some information about this league, again, how it's going to work here in El Paso moving forward before we open up applications. Once we have all the teams that are going to participate finalized, we'll hold another meeting closer to the start of the season with specifics. But without further ado, this is N1 South District 4. So what is the National One League, right? Now, of course, feel free to read. I'll kind of just go off of a little bit off of what I know. So National League One is a collaboration between U.S. Club Soccer and U.S. Youth Soccer, the two biggest youth soccer associations in the country, in collaboration with ECNL. What they've done now is create the top team-based competition in basically the country. What this will do now is it'll enable teams from outlying areas outside outlying areas of the country, currently not part of the ECNL structure, ECNL RL structure, an opportunity to be a part of something bigger with a genuine pathway. In plain English, what does that mean? It means that now teams here in El Paso, in the surrounding region, will be a part of a national platform through local competition. That is the main goal here, right? So what are some of the goals for the N1? What the N1 is, again, trying to do is give pathways to national platforms, to teams, and national competitions to teams. This is a team-based league rather than a club-based league. So again, the main goal for N1 is to coincide with U.S. Soccer's pathway strategy, an initiative committed to making the game easier to navigate, more accessible, and more supportive. The N1 pathway is inclusive of ECNL, ECNL RL, and localized competitions, like El Paso Premier League, providing opportunities for merit-based promotion of top clubs within this new competition into the RL, as well as teams in local competitions into the N1. So who is the National One League for? As I said in the email I sent out previous to this email, the N1 is designed for competitive U13 through U19 teams that want to be part of a national team-based competition. It's important to note that this will start in the fall, which means it is now following the August to July age matrix, which we'll all be transitioning to. Now, while the National One League is for competitive teams that are seeking higher level of competition, it's also for teams that are organized, that uphold good sportsmanship, that respect the game, and that will positively represent our region. All right. So kind of breaking down what the N1 looks like at a national level, what they did is they went ahead and broke up the country into 8 different conferences. Our conference is the South Conference, which includes New Mexico. Oh, sorry, we got some people coming in here. So the South Conference includes New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Now, each of these conferences was broken down into districts, again, with that goal of regionalizing or localizing competition. Our district is South District 4, which is New Mexico and West Texas. What does this mean in terms of where are we going, right? The districts, where do we go? Well, what they've decided to implement is working in collaboration with the ECNL. The N1's inaugural season will be capped off with the ECNL Conference League playoffs, okay? ECNL, which is a big organization that operates U.S. Club's top club-based competition, will be hosting these Conference League playoffs. And basically what it will look like is every district will play its localized competition, and from there, they haven't specifically said how many qualifiers we'll get, but let's assume we're getting one. So then our one qualifier from each age group will then qualify into the ECNL Conference League playoffs. These Conference League playoffs will include teams from the National One League, as well as qualifying teams from the ECNL RL League. And again, just with that focus of creating that new top team-based competition in the country. So the 2026-2027, which is what we're going into, ECNL Conference League playoff, will feature 4 regional playoff events, culminating with the ECNL Conference League finals in the summer of 2027. Meaning that the teams that qualify out of our district will then go on to play a regional event in one of these 4 cities, which we can foresee is going to be Dallas. From there, there will be a ECNL Conference League finals in Atlanta, Georgia in the summer of 2027. Now, it's important to point out that with that goal of minimizing travel and localizing competition, the Conference League playoffs will expand to 6 venues in the 27-28 season, so the following year. And it's not official, but they've talked about trying to get to where every conference has its own conference championship. So hopefully we can get to that soon. But again, just to kind of break that down, what the N1 will be is localized competition within our district, and then the winners will qualify to a regional event, and then those winners will qualify to a national event. And all that regional and national event is called the ECNL Conference League playoffs, which will again include National One teams as well as ECNL RL teams. So what does that mean for us here in South District 4? Well, it's really a game changer for us. It's something that we really pushed for when we kind of got invited into the conversation of what this league would look like and the breakdown it would be. For us, it was important being from El Paso and being from West Texas and this region in general. As many of you understand and know, we are geographically challenged, right? We're usually bunched in with San Antonio and Austin, or our friends in New Mexico are bunched in with Denver and other places in Colorado, and we've never really had something for ourselves and for our own. South District 4 now gives us that. It is our own region for our own little area of the map that will give our teams, our players, that opportunity to qualify directly into a national platform through localized competition that minimizes travel and it minimizes expense. Oh, just checking to see if anyone else has come in. So in an ideal world, this is kind of what we've thought up, and this is what we feel will be best suitable to our region. Our South District 4 competition structure will aim to have 12 teams in each age group, boys and girls. And what that will look like is 11 regular season games spread across 6 to 8, what we're calling N1 weekends, right? So it will aim to play 2 games each of these weekends, which in a perfect world, if we could just play the 2, that'd be 6 weekends, right? But we're expanding it to 6 to 8 just to account for any sort of schedule difficulties that may come up. After the 11 regular season games through those 6 to 8 weekends, we'll have our table, our end of the season table. From there, the top 6 teams will go into a round robin playoff and play an additional 5 games, making your total game count for the season 16. These top 6 teams will play a round robin playoff to determine the final standings, in which first place will qualify to the ECNL Conference League playoff spot, and the runner-up will qualify to the U.S. Club Regional event in Oklahoma. Now, we don't want to cut the season short for all the other teams, so the bottom 6 teams will play what we're calling right now a relegation playoff. Again, another round robin, an additional 5 games, where at the end, positions 7 through 8 will remain safe, but positions 11 through 12 will face a potential relegation or a challenge for their spot. Now, the details of that promotion and relegation system are still in development, but we'll have them soon, and especially right before we kick off the inaugural season. But that is the gist of the overall competitive structure that we're looking at right now. So just some of those key points. We are looking, or our goal is to have 12 teams per age group. Every division will have 11 regular season games across 6 to 8 N1 weekends, with 2 additional N1 playoff weekends, again, for a total of 16 games. The top 6 teams will enter a round robin playoff, with the first place going to the ECNL Conference League playoffs, second place to the US Club Regionals, and then third to 6th, the season would end. The bottom 6 would enter that relegation playoff, and it would be reverse. 7 to 8 would be safe for next season, while 11 and 12 would be subject to a relegation or a challenge for their league spot. We would also offer awards. The champions of the top flight would receive a trophy and medals, as well as second place for the top flight would receive trophy and medals. So basically what we were trying to find was a good balance between getting enough good competitive games, but also extending the season in a meaningful way. One of the key ideas, or one of the key factors behind N1 and behind ECNL and what they're pushing, is extending seasons to have more meaningful games. More meaningful games means more meaningful practice, which means more development for the players. And rather than just doing an 11-game regular season and then just jumping into a knockout bracket or cutting the season short for teams that didn't qualify, we felt that this round robin playoff will give everyone enough meaningful games to prolong the season, but also make every single game count. As when we're in those round robin playoffs, every game will mean something, whether you're fighting for a spot, whether you're fighting for relegation, whether that game means that your result can either get you in or get someone out from a relegation spot. We just believe it'll add a lot of competition and a lot of development for the players. Another important thing is that this 8 to 10 weekend system will still allow for the opportunity for teams to participate in tournaments as well as local league play. Now, I do add a little asterisk there, because while we do encourage teams to continue playing in their local leagues, whether you're from New Mexico, West Texas, or here in El Paso, we do want everyone to understand that these N1 weekends, or this league schedule, will be the priority for any team that applies. So that'll be something that throughout the scheduling process, once your team is accepted and once we build out the divisions, we'll work out with everyone. But it is important for everyone to understand that while we do encourage you to participate in your local leagues, the N1 schedule will be the priority. And just on an important note of what we mean by those N1 weekends, what we're trying to do is create a unique setup for teams, for players, for you as coaches, to really feel and create that exciting environment around this league and what it means for this region. What we want to do is set aside fields, whether at the East Side Sports Complex or the West Side Sports Complex, wherever field availability may be, and really dress up the event and have it be, with tents and flags, and make it known that, hey, these teams now are playing in something different. So it's just, again, another way to really make it stand out for all the teams involved. So again, kind of just diving in a little bit into the schedule, into what it will look like. So the N1 season for South District 4 will revolve around these designated N1 weekends, right? Where we'll try to create a vibrant and professional atmosphere. Now, the majority of matches will take place here in El Paso at either the West Side or the East Side Sports Complex, and that obviously depends on availability. And however, travel will be minimal, and only to the secondary hubs of Albuquerque or Midland, Odessa. And that'll be only if in that specific division, there's enough teams from those hubs that can warrant hosting games. Across the full year, the season will span 8 to 10 official weekends. That means regular season plus the postseason. In some cases, if need be, weeknight games might be scheduled in order to accommodate. And also out-of-town teams may play each other locally if multiple teams are present. For example, if there's 2 teams from the Midland, Odessa area or 2 teams from the Albuquerque area, they will be able to play their game locally. I think at the end of the day, the big thing with the schedule, especially on our end, is that having a local operator, such as El Paso Premier League, really allows us to tailor the schedule to the needs of our region. We do have some unique situations that we're going to run into, some unique challenges. But again, having someone make that schedule here, and someone that's from here and understands that, is just a huge opportunity, and it's really something that we are going to take advantage of, rather than having the schedule be set by a national entity or by someone somewhere else. It's going to be here with us. So we're going to work hard with everyone to kind of put that puzzle together. And once that official schedule is set, rescheduling will be minimized, and there's going to be some strict policies in terms of forfeits, changes, and that'll all come with a fee schedule that, N1 is really encouraging us to push. So again, just to kind of recap a little bit there, the primary hub for these games will be El Paso. There might be minimal travel to Albuquerque or Midland, Odessa if warranted. The entire season, right, which will last 8 to 10 official weekends, which is the regular season plus the payoffs. And N1 weekends are the priority, right? Local leagues and tournaments are not going to take precedent over the N1 schedule. So again, part of this schedule, and I'm sorry if I missed this in one of my points, but one of the biggest changes for N1, especially here in South District 4, is we will transition to a year-long season or a seasonal season, rather than the traditional fall and spring that we've been doing here in EPPL. So that's an important thing that I may have missed, but just so we're all clear. We are looking to kick off early September, potentially after Labor Day, and we'll be holding 4 to 5 N1 weekends in the fall. Then we'll break from January to March for the Texas high school soccer season. Come back in April, play the remainder of our regular season matches, and then have our 2 playoff weekends in May. Now, again, one of the challenges that I mentioned we're going to face in our district here is that Texas and New Mexico are on opposite Texas high school soccer seasons. So New Mexico plays it in the fall, we play in the spring. So that's just, again, one of the challenges that we're going to have to face. But that'll just mean that New Mexico teams that do end up getting accepted into the N1 will probably have more of their N1 weekends scheduled post October, in November and December, and then they'll be able to just catch up in the spring as well. But again, just to reiterate, it is a year-long season starting in September, ending in May, with these 8 to 10 N1 weekends spread across. So again, some of the competition standards for N1, this is something that I felt was important to discuss with everyone that's interested, just so that we're all on the same page, that there's going to be certain standards that are sent down from the top, right? From the National League. For example, there's going to be a uniform set of national rules that all of the operators will have to follow, and then all of the leagues will have to adhere to. There's also a handbook, which can be found on the N1 page, which there'll be a link to on our website once that goes live as well, which you can go over. And it, again, just talks about all these competition standards throughout the country. They want to make one uniform set. But I decided to highlight a few of the important ones here, just so you guys can be aware. The first one is coach eligibility. So beyond what the U.S. club soccer staff registration requirements that we already do, for example, here in EPPL, your background check, your safe sport, all that stuff, there's going to be some additional requirements for any coach that wants to be a part of this league. They include the ECNL U.S. Club Soccer Coach Voice platform, any coach or any course or clinic that qualifies for U.S. soccer coaching education units. And then it is a requirement for all coaches in this league to have a minimum of a D license or equivalent at the start of every season. Now, I know here in El Paso and in our region, that's not very common. However, I have verified that as long as you are in process of obtaining any course or some course, and you're in the process of getting to a D license, it won't be an issue for us. So, and there will be some more information on that and on coach education opportunities coming soon. So this will not be a problem in terms of having access to getting a D license, but it is a requirement moving forward if you are a coach and you're going to be interested in having your team in the N1. Again, just some of the national standards. So roster rules, there will be a minimum of 15 players and a maximum of 30 players. Now, I know that 30 players sounds like a lot, and it is, but the game day roster for your game days will have a maximum of 18. So, we think that they took the 30 player maximum into account in terms of the teams that are going to be traveling, and in these districts where it takes a lot, where there's going to be a little bit more traveling. Here in El Paso, the traveling is minimal. So I don't foresee anyone getting to 30 players, but the option is there. Just keep in mind that 18 players is all you're going to be able to roster for your games. Some other important standards. So once a player is registered for for an N1 team, they can't transfer to another one, right? There will be no tampering. There is no recruiting. Once a player is assigned to a team, they must remain on that team till the end of the season. All right. So that's another big one. And another important one that I felt we needed to kind of go over in this initial information webinar. So again, just some other general competition standards. So all matches will follow FIFA and USSF laws. And then game lengths. So this is a big change from regular EPPL play. U13 and U14 will stay the same with the 35-minute halves, but U15 and U16 will make a jump to 40s, and then U17 and then the U18, U19, which is a combined age group, will jump to 45-minute halves. So kind of a big jump from regular EPPL play, but still a great opportunity for our players to enjoy some longer matches, to get more game time and more development. So just again, kind of recapping on those player limitations, and this is obviously a lot of information, but once a player is rostered on one team within the N1, they are only allowed to play within this district on that team, right? Basically saying you can't play for multiple teams within the same district, okay? And you can't play for multiple clubs. The only exception to that is going to be goalkeepers. So goalkeepers will be allowed to play on up to two N1 games in the same day, with written consent. So if that's a situation for you, you can obviously reach out and we'll deal with that as that gets nearer. But that's to say, so if you're a primary player on one roster, you can only be a primary player on one roster. You cannot play on multiple teams. Now, obviously, the caveat to that is the club pass. So teams will be able to add club pass players to their roster. However, a player will only be allowed to play on one team per day, right? So what does that mean in practice? You can add your club pass players, but if that club pass player is playing on their primary team that same day, they can only play for that team. They won't be able to play for both of them. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, you guys can ask a few more questions here at the end, and I'll be sure to answer that one. So another big one that's going to be a competition standard that's very new to us here in El Paso, at least, is substitutions. So again, this is just going to be a competition standard nationwide. And so we're going to be implementing substitution windows or substitution moments. And you can see there, U13 and U14, it's unlimited substitutions, but only at 3 moments each half plus halftime, and then 4 moments for U15 through U19. So again, just another standard that they're setting or that they're imposing on all the leagues that we will have to adhere to. And then it's just information for you all to have. So the big one, right? What does all this cost? What does all this mean? So we will be implementing a team fee that covers the whole year for the teams. And you can see them right there. It's a flat $2,500 fee, which includes administrative costs, field fees, postseason qualification costs, which means that the team that qualifies to the N1 or to the ECNL Conference League playoffs or to the U.S. Club Regional playoff in Oklahoma won't have to pay any additional fees. It'll just be their travel expenses. It'll cover the awards. And we're very, very excited to announce that it will also cover 2 official match balls from Voigt, which if anyone had seen is, we've just established a working partnership with them. And this was part of the partnership that we agreed with, right, that we really pushed for. So now every team will also get 2 official match balls from them. And they are the FIFA Quality Pro match balls, which is kind of their highest quality one. And that will serve as the official match balls for the N1 and for all of our divisions. So again, just something we're very, very excited for. Now, what do these fees not include, right? So these fees will not include the referee fees. So the referee fees will be determined by the final number of teams and the final number of games in each division, right? And it will not, and that will be billed afterwards, right? Once we finalize the number of teams in each division. It also doesn't include the player ID card fees. Okay, so independent clubs that have access to purchase their own US club ID cards will do that separately. And then players and teams or clubs that fall under the EPPL club will register for independent cards using a specific link. Now, in both cases, assistance will be provided by us and our team to walk you guys through whatever process you fall into. But ultimately, we wanted to keep a flat team fee that didn't take these two variables into account, so that you all knew sort of what to expect from the get-go, and then these are just depending on how big the divisions are and ultimately on how many players each team registers. We wanted to do just a little bit of a breakdown because, obviously when you see a number kind of just like that in the team fee, especially of all of us here in El Paso Premier League, when it comes down to what we've been doing in terms of a per player fee, we kind of just did a little bit of a breakdown. So regular EPPL yearly per player fee has been 190, which is $95 per season. That's kind of the standard that we've been holding. The N1 yearly player fee approximately will be around 230, 250. So a little bit of an increase to 115 to 125 per season. That is an average increase of about $40 to $60 per year that we'll be seeing per teams or for the players. Now, again, this is just a breakdown, but the fee will be a team fee. This is just a breakdown so that you guys can see it on a per player side. Now, these averages are taken at an 18-player roster, and the cost will increase in age due to referee costs. So that's another reason why there's a kind of a range. So with the added game times, obviously there's added referee fees, and there's so basically we have to kind of account for that, and that's what that'll end up looking like. But it's kind of just like a round number for you all to think about and to include into whatever fees that you need to account for your players. Now, this estimate for the yearly player fee is the all-in estimate. So it does include that team fee, their US club ID, and then the referee costs. So that's basically like your all-in cost per player if you wanted to have a round number or an estimate. So coming into some of the benefits, some of the club and team benefits. For clubs and teams, the N1 League offers a structured regional pathway to top-tier competition without excessive travel, which I think is, kind of like the biggest draw. And clubs and teams will benefit from professionally organized seasons, meaningful matches, and clear pathways to prestigious playoff opportunities. Breaking that down, what does it mean, right? So in El Paso, we have kind of two different types of groups, right? We have our clubs and we have our independent teams, okay? Now, clubs will benefit from the N1. And by club, I mean a group of teams that encompasses all of the age groups, right? U13, U14, U15, U16, U17, and then U18, U19. Okay, boys and girls. So in terms of what this means of a club is someone that encompasses that. So a club will benefit from this in terms of having a well-organized, well-structured season with a pathway to a national competition. But clubs that perform well at the N1 do have the possibility to get promoted into the RL. That's huge. That's a huge benefit for clubs. In terms of independent teams, which is the other segment of, the other group that we have in El Paso, we have a lot of talent and we have a lot of great teams, right, that are not clubs and would not be considered for an ECNL or ECNL RL pathway. But for teams, this is now an opportunity to join a national platform and to have a pathway to a national competition, which is, again, the top team-based competition in the country. So again, a huge benefit for both clubs and teams. And player benefits, right? So for players, the league opens doors to national platforms, and it allows them to showcase their talent closer to home while growing in a competitive and supportive environment. That's a huge one for us here in our team, in our organization. It's about providing opportunities that, in the past were not available right, myself included, to soccer players here in this region. So it's really been a huge push for us to get this, to bring this here to El Paso, to our region. And it's really just a huge opportunity for our players to showcase their talent, and for the nation and all these big organizations to look at our region and at the talent that we have here. So again, just a lot of very positive benefits. So what are some of the next steps in terms of the National One? So year one, all teams will need to apply, right? So there isn't kind of like a promotion and relegation. It's year one. We're starting from scratch. So applications will be open to everyone. However, team history, what competitions you've been participating in, how you've been doing in those competitions, it will all be taken into account in terms of who is accepted. But again, the application will be open to everyone. That application link will open shortly after, not shortly after this meeting per se, but in the coming days. We're finalizing that application. We're finalizing the official website for South District 4, or web page, I should say, on the EPPL website. So just keep a lookout for an email notification saying the applications are open. Once teams are accepted, they'll be notified via email, and every team will receive a N1 graphic showing that your team has been accepted. So that's sort of like the next steps. So a little bit of a closing. So we don't have the links here just yet, but they will be on that N1 EPPL website that we're hopefully going to be finishing any day now, or tomorrow or the next day. Yeah, we'll have all the general FAQs, link to the N1 website, and everything there. That's really all I have in terms of the overall information for this league. If you guys